Hello everyone, this is a video review from Everyday Commentary. This is a review of the Filipe Coene Hybrid. This is a custom knife. It's produced by a maker in Europe named Filipe Coene. I received this knife around Christmas time. I had contacted Filipe about 2 years ago and asked if he would sell a knife to me. And at the time he was working on the hybrid design. And so he said, wait a second, let's see if I can get this done. And then when I finally got the cash together and he had the knife together, I sent him the money. He sent me the knife. Philip's a super nice guy. He's easy to talk to. He responds to emails well, especially given the fact that he has to translate them from English to, I believe, Dutch. I'm not 100% sure. But this is a full custom knife. Filipe designed, ground, cut, and assembled everything himself. The steel, or the blade steel, is D2 steel. The handles are made of real nice, smooth, polished, convex G10. I believe the liners are titanium. The pocket clip is a modification. It is his own design. It is a over-the-top pocket clip. It rides nice and deep in your pocket. The knife is a flipper design, but unlike a normal flipper that usually is found here on the knife, behind the blade edge, this one is found on the top. It does two things by doing that. Number one, it's, I think, a little easier to open, and number two, because the blade tang is under your finger, even though this is a slip joint, it really locks into place. I mean, the blade is not going to go anywhere. As long as you're holding a knife, the blade ain't going to go anywhere. The other thing that helps prevent the blade from closing is this little finger choil. Both also aid in sort of, choking up to make precision cutting tasks, or precision cutting of material. So I really like the overall design. So in terms of design, I give it a 2 out of 2. By the way that this works is there are 10 categories. The product can get a score of 0 to 2 in each category for a total of 20 points. If something works really well, it gets a 2. If something works but not great, it gets a 1. If something doesn't work, then it gets a 0. Pretty simple. So in terms of design, as I said before, I gave it a 2 out of 2. The knife's really a clean design, a minimalist design. It's a nice size. The blade is about 2 inches long. The overall length of the blade is somewhere around 5.5 inches. It's a really nice, easy to use size. In terms of fit and finish, this is a fully custom knife. The blade was really well centered. The grinds were immaculate, just insanely clean. I do use the knife, so there's a little schmutz on it, some dirt. But everything was just, when I got it out of the box, it was simply beautiful. The G10 itself, the handle scale, is convex. See if I can pick it up. It's nice and rounded, it fits in your hand well, and it is just a pleasure to touch. Looks like it was sanded maybe 1,000 grit or 1,200 grit, but it's nice and smooth. The bead blasting, it looks like bead blasting or stone washing on the blade was well done. So, even though it's D2, which is not technically a stainless steel, I haven't had any rust issues. I haven't had to do any sort of crazy maintenance or tough glide, anything like that. In terms of fit and finish, I gave it a 2 out of 2. In terms of grip, as I had mentioned before, the way that the knife is shaped, your fingers sort of lock on the top tang, the flipper portion, and your other finger locks here, right behind the blade. And even though it doesn't have a lock, these things really work together well to keep the knife in your hand. There's no jimping, there's no traction on the handle, so to speak, but the shape of the blade itself is what sort of locks in the grip. You can get a full 4-finger grip on this knife pretty easy. I mean, I have medium-sized hands, and I can still get a full 4-finger grip on a knife that's, quite small. So the grip on this knife is excellent. I give it a 2 out of 2. In terms of carry, this is a really small knife. It's not terribly thick. It's probably about as thick as a Spyderco Dragonfly 2, and it's really easy to sort of tuck in your pocket. Again, the over-the-top pocket clip, and the knife's not thick, but it's not thin either. That's not too bad. And then the width dimensions are really quite nice, given how wide the blade is. So in terms of carry, even though this thing comes in at about 3 ounces, I really like the carry of the knife. It slides in and out of your pocket easy. The tang is not a problem the way it's designed. It sits nice, and it's virtually impossible. In fact, I've carried it quite extensively, and it's never accidentally opened in the pocket. So in terms of carry, I gave it a 2 out of 2. In terms of steel, the steel is D2 blade steel, which I really like. It's tough, it's hard, it cuts well, it takes a good edge. But the thing that's really amazed me is that this D2 blade steel, unlike other blade steels that I've used before that are made of D2, this one has really remained pretty much completely rust-free with actually zero maintenance. I mean, I think I've cleaned it with Windex a couple of times. I may have put WD-40 or Rem oil on it, but other than that, I haven't done anything nuts to it. And even the lead cutting edge is still nice and sharp and shiny, no rust spots. So I like the D2's hardness, but I didn't like its rust resistance. And for whatever reason, this version of the D2 blade steel has worked quite well and has remained rust free. So I give it a 2 out of 2 there. In terms of blade shape, this is a very unique shape. It goes along with the minimalist theme that all of Filipe's knives have. It's a very basic. There's a flat portion up here, and then the ground portion, the main grind here, which is a flat grind, is very, very nice and simple. There's plenty of belly to do like roll cuts, and then the finger choil here gives you a ton of control. This is a knife that the blade shape just simply works. I don't know if you call it a drop point, or if you call it modified Wharncliffe, whatever you want to call it. This thing just works. It has a nice slice to it. You can slice stuff pretty easily. And because of the choil, you can really choke up and do tiny precision cuts. I really like that. So I gave it a 2 out of 2 in the blade shape. In terms of the grind, well, this is a custom knife. Filipe has, if you go to his website, you'll see he has quite a few jigs to do grinds, and the grind is just immaculate. I mean, it's perfect. There are no flaws with the grinds. There's no dings on even the secondary bevel. I will note, and this is kind of an interesting thing, that the tip is not super sharp, and it came this way. I did put a little ding on there because I was using it as a marking knife when I was doing woodworking, but it's really just a mark in the finish. It's not a mark on the steel itself. The knife's not terribly pointy, but it's sharp enough, and it does thrust cuts well. But I think that's a good idea, especially because some of these knives, with the really fine tips, they're just very hard to use. I really like the way that he did this. So the grind here, I gave it the 2 out of 2 because I thought the grind was, well, more than perfect. It's just absolutely flawless in every way. The deployment method is the tang flipper, and you just place your finger on and turn it back. That's it. That's all you have to do. It's really simple. It's easy to use. It's completely silent. So you can pull this out, and you want to cut something open and you don't want to scare the crap out of everybody. This is the way to do it. It's nice and simple. It's quiet. It's smooth. The pivot is incredibly smooth. I really like this design, the rear tang instead of the bottom tang. Like Kershaw knives or a lot of other American flippers, the tang is here, or the flipper is here on this portion of the tang. And by putting it on the top, not only does it give you an extra thing to lock into, but I think it actually makes it easier to use. It makes it easier to access. So I gave it a 2 out of 2 in terms of deployment. The retention method is a pocket clip, and this is a phenomenal pocket clip. It's thick, it's sturdy, it's pretty tough. The smooth G10 means it slides in and out of your pocket pretty easy. Not so easy that it falls out, but when you want it out, you can pull it out pretty easy. The over-the-top design means that it rides real low in your pocket, but because there is this tang, you can grab it and pull it out pretty easily. Unlike some of the deep carry pocket clips like the SOG Flash 1, that pocket clip is so deep that it's really hard to access the knife. Another concern that I had was because this is a slip joint with a rear tang instead of a bottom tang, I was wondering if it would ever open in my pocket on accident, sort of like that. And I've never had that happen. I've carried this knife pretty extensively since Christmas time, and it's never really opened up on its own. And the tang gives me something to pull on when I want to pull it out. I'll pull on it here or grab here and pull it out. But either way, this knife rides real nice and low in the pocket. It's still easy to get to. Tension on the pocket clip is just about perfect. I gave it a 2 out of 2 in terms of retention method. So one of the things that I did was I changed the way that I score the folding knife. So I said that something either needs to have a lock or some kind of safety plan. And well, this is a slip joint, so it doesn't have a lock. It does have a really good safety plan. There are two sort of ways that it protects your fingers from closing, or from being closed in the blade. First is the tang up here. You push it in, your finger rests right there naturally, and that holds it from moving around. Like if you don't have any pressure on it, it'll move around. But if you have your thumb on there, and if you're cutting, if the force you need to cut down is also sufficient force to keep the blade in place. It's a really clever design. And the second thing that keeps the knife from closing on your fingers, and the reason why I think this is actually quite a safe slip joint, is that by putting your finger there, by putting your finger where your fingers are guided to by the design of the knife, it prevents it from closing in on your finger. I mean, there's just no way that you're going to be able to close in on your finger. The knife simply won't close. This sort of choil design is used in the Spyderco Slippets, and it's even larger and has a greater effect here with Filipe's design. The combination of the choil and the tang being depressed by your finger, the force you use to cut down will be more than enough to keep your fingers safe and keep the blade open. And so for that reason, I gave it a 2 out of 2 in the blade safety or lock area. Even though it doesn't have a lock, it does have a really good blade safety plan. This knife, in my opinion, is one of the most beautiful, artistically gorgeous knives. Additionally, the craftsmanship is superb, outstanding. The knife was, I think, $295, including shipping. And I ordered it from Filipe, and it arrived about 2 weeks later in a really nice package. My mailman thought it was chocolates, because I think it's in Belgium or the Netherlands, but it was better than chocolates. It's a really nice little custom knife. I gave this knife a 20 out of 20. I do think this is probably one of the very best designs in pocket knives. A lock would be really interesting, but I don't think it's entirely necessary. I like the slip joint. A little less threatening, a little more discreet, simpler. I gave this knife a 20 out of 20, and this is a knife that I think is just about perfect. If you want something a little different, something that looks unique, that feels unique, that's unique in the way it works, then give Filipe shoot Filipe an email or call him. Go to his website, which I believe is Custom Blade Works. I'll put it in the notes. Thanks.